Hello everyone, I hope you are doing very fine today. My name is Joseph Afisu, just in case you are new to this channel. And while I was preparing for SC-300 examination, I came across very important topics in terms of demo, the labs, and I also wanted to bring it to your notice also. So today we are going to be talking about how to enable sign-in and user risk policy. Sign-in policy versus user risk policy. Sometimes these definitions will seem a bit difficult for people to distinguish. So when you speak about the sign-in risk, this refers to the likelihood that a specific login attempt is not authorized by the account owner. While if you speak about user risk, it actually speaks about the overall probability that the user account itself has been compromised or has been taken over by a hacker. So how do you prevent, let's say, a sign-in that is not suspicious not to be coming from the original account owner, or that the account entirely has been compromised? So for user risk policy, Microsoft will recommend that you change the password of the user, while for the sign-in risk, it will recommend that you bring up your MFA to see that you can sign in successfully. So I just want us to do this quickly by coming to the admin center. So my usual practice, you should already know that is my cmd.mx I will usually use to get into the admin center. And again, it is under the Microsoft Entra admin center. You can configure your user risk and then your sign-in risk policies. So getting here, actually, you need to understand some basic things. So what do you want to do? You want to protect an account, so that you don't get confused. It's under protection, and then coming to this place, if you come to identity protection, and then down here you would see user risk and then sign-in risk policy. So like what I was saying, for these two policies, if you want to distinguish them easily, is just to put them side by side with what I have here now. The sign-in risk refers to the likelihood that a specific login attempt is not authorized by the account owner. So are you sure you're the one signing in? So it will challenge you for MFA. While if it is user risk, where the account is likely compromised, then password change will be required. So if you've not subscribed to this channel yet, please hit on the subscribe button, please. So let's go to the user risk policy now. Just quickly, we will see what is there. Excuse me. So right now it is by default disabled. So what this means is that actually you will look at this policy. Name is user risk policy, assignment is users. So if you want it to be for like all the users, right, you can just leave it the way it is. So, or you can click on this. If you have like specific selected individual and groups, you can, maybe you want to test it out first, you can come to search for users or group here, and you select your target user, or you select your targeted groups here. If you come to this, it's always just the group that you will see here. But for our own demo, I want it to be for all the users, because of course for sign-in risk and for user risk, it's okay for it to be enabled for everyone. You can also use conditional access to set this, just to see if you have the required licenses. So now coming to this, I've set it to all users, and what this is speaking to likelihood that the account is compromised. If it is high, if the likelihood is high, then it can help me carry out the needful. So what is going to happen, we will look at this also, but just look at this. You may just want to put it at medium to above, right? So if the likelihood is from medium and above, then the intelligence should detect it from here and then challenge the user to carry out the action that we want to recommend under controls. So for under controls, you click on here, require password change. That's what we want it to do. Or do you want to block the account? If you just see that the account is likely compromised, then you just go ahead and block it. Or do you want to say no, I will allow, but this user needs to change their password? And this is where SSPRO would have to first of all be set up in the account, because if there's no SSPRO, the user is never going to be able to change their password. So having said that, I'll just click on done. So if this happens, you just need to change your password for accounts that is likely compromised. So I'll click on enable now, and then I'll click on save. So that is what I need to do to set my user risk policy on. So it's enabled. So the next thing is a sign in risk policy. Remember, the sign in risk is just a likelihood that it is not the real owner of the account that is trying to sign in. So what is here is, again, do you want to give assign that policy to specific set of users, or do you want to implement this for every of the users in your organization? Depends. It can be your users where you can select multiple users, or it can be group where you can select multiple group, or if you want to leave it for all users, just as we did in the user risk policy, you can leave it there. So now the next thing is, how do you want it to be? Just the same way we did for the categories. Configure the risk level needed for policy to be enforced. Do you want even from low and above, or you just, so that it doesn't happen too frequent, you want to leave it at medium and above, which is quite fine, or you may want to leave it at only high. But now let's see what action that can be done there. Now for this one, the action is either we are going to block the sign-in. If we suspect, just go ahead and block it, or if we want to allow access but require the user to enter multi-factor authentication. So for example, if a user was signed in Nigeria just the last hour, and the next hour this user is signing in from maybe Australia, as far as Australia from Nigeria, then that is termed as impossible travel. So it's not possible that this user is there. But again, it's possible that the user is on a VM that is in Australia. Of course, it's going to still pick a location in Australia and say, hey, this user has traveled. So that is actually something that would now say, okay, if you are the one trying to sign into this machine, there in Australia, or if the user is on VPN, similar things, can challenge the user to input MFA before the user can sign in. So this is how to set the user risk and then the sign in risk policy. But just before I forget, you have to click on enabled, and then you can save it. So once you do this, it means that the user risk policy in your environment as well as the sign in risk have been configured. So I hope you've been able to learn a few things from here today on how to set sign in risk policy and user risk policy in your environment. And if you find this video useful, please give it a like, and if you've not subscribed to this channel, please hit on the subscribe button, for that's not just going to take 1 second for you to do. So thank you very much for sticking to the end of this video, and I hope that you will wait for the next one. Thank you and have a good one. Peace.